The 76ers downward spiral continues. Draymond Green lashes out again. Gilbert Arenas gives his opinion on why he thinks NBA viewership is down. The Lakers commission a Pat Riley statue, and LaMelo Ball gets fined $100,000 for saying no homo in a post-game interview. Now, before we get into the topics today, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot in these YouTube streets. We're on the road to 1,000 subs, and I really appreciate you all for rocking with me so far. Anyways, let's get back to business. Now, I've got to ask this question, and you guys can all sign off below. Is Joel Embiid the worst NBA superstar that we've ever seen? Joel Embiid has been officially ruled out for tonight's game against the Brooklyn Nets, and he's also going to miss the game against the Clippers on Sunday due to swelling in his knee. Now, the 76ers are officially calling this left knee injury management, which is just hilarious in itself. Before it was just load management, then due to backlash and just fan dismay overall, the NBA did a complete 180 on load management and implemented the 65 game policy. And if you guys don't remember what the NBA 65 game rule / policy is, it's essentially a policy that the NBA implemented last year to combat a lot of this load management garbage. And the 65 game policy / rule simply just states that NBA players have to appear in at least 65 games and be on the court for at least 20 minutes of those 65 games to be eligible for a lot of the larger awards that you would get during the year, such as Most Valuable Player, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, etc. For NBA players, especially the superstars, this is a huge deal, as this can be the difference between making $150 million in your max contract versus making $250 million in your max contract. And for example, Luka Doncic, who earned his 5th consecutive All-NBA First Team selection last year, essentially set the stage for him to sign the largest Supermax contract in NBA history. So when he's actually available to sign the contract in the 2025 offseason, his Supermax extension will be worth $346 million over 5 years, which will be the largest contract in NBA history when he does eventually sign it. But if Luka Doncic did not play a minimum of 65 games per year, he wouldn't have met that 5th consecutive All-NBA First Team selection, so it's extremely important for certain players. Now, you might be asking, how does this relate to Joel Embiid at all? And why is this important? Well, Joel Embiid has only played more than 65 games in a season in only 2 seasons, and he's been in the NBA now for 9 years. And listen, man, I'm not blaming the dude. You are a big ass dude. You are 7'1", 7'2". You are more prone to getting injured. We all know that. If you have an injury, it is what it is. And you can see that a lot of these comments from the media about Joel Embiid not putting in full effort in, or always being injured, or starting to get to him, because more recently he's been lashing out at media. There was a time where he lashed out at the reporter and tried to pretty much smack the dude in the face for talking about his son as well as his late brother. There was another interview where Joel Embiid pretty much lashed out and said that he does too much for the city to be treated like this. You can listen to that a little bit here.
I've done it. You know, from what I can tell you, I've broken my face twice. I came back early with the risk of losing my vision. Had broken fingers. I still came back. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, when I see people saying he doesn't want to play. I've been way too much. I've done way too much, for this city, and putting myself at risk, for people to be saying that. So I do think it's like that dude. He's not here, Marcus, whatever his name is. I've done way too much for this city to be treated like this.
But at the same time, this dude is also always trolling as well too. Even with the back-to-back comments, recently he addressed that and said, "Oh, well, I am a troll, so I was probably just joking." Like, come on, dog. And all this bad injury juju that Joel Embiid has brought is also reaching his 76ers teammates as well too. Tyrese Maxey got injured recently, and Paul George got injured prior to the season starting, and he just got injured on the same knee again recently. Joel Embiid continues to nurse his injury and complete the left knee injury management program, where he's going to be out a couple more games. He's missing the game today, and he's also going to be missing the game on Sunday against the Clippers. And then to add on top of this, Joel Embiid has that new nasty ass free throw routine where he literally picks his own ass, smells it, then shoots his free throw. Like, what is going on with Joel Embiid, bro? And it's not just Joel Embiid too, it's the Sixers, man. The Sixers are absolutely falling apart. Right now, they have a record of 2-11. They have the worst record in the NBA, and they are bottom of the Eastern Conference. And things came to a head on Monday night when the Philadelphia 76ers had to have a team meeting. And in this team meeting, it's reported that Tyrese Maxey called out Joel Embiid about his tardiness in team meetings. It seems like Joel Embiid is just always late. And for your superstar to be the one to always be late for meetings, you're not setting a good example for the rookies, and you're just not being a top level player. I mean, if you're injured, the least you can do is at least show up for team meetings on time, right? And of course, instead of addressing the tardiness head on in a mature fashion, saying, listen, I've been tardy, I've been late, it's not up to my standards, I can do better and I will do better, and we can work forward on making this team the best that it can be and getting to the playoffs. Instead, of course, he's looking to find the person who leaked the story in the first place. But that's not even the worst part about this Sixers situation. The worst part about it is that Paul George went on his podcast afterwards and actually talked about the Sixers meeting. Now listen, I'm all for player empowerment. I'm all for players getting their bags outside of the NBA season. But man, you got to make the main thing the main thing. And for you to be on your podcast talking about this thing right after it happened is crazy to me. It seems like this dude cares more about his podcast right now than he actually cares about being on the 76ers. And at this rate, the Philadelphia fans, who are, by the way, ruthless, are going to be running Paul George out of town by the end of the season. But I'll play a little bit of the podcast. This is what Paul George had to say about the players only meeting that was sparked by their 2-11.
A report had dropped of a players only meeting. How would you describe that meeting, and how do you guys deal with that being leaked to the media?
I don't know how the Shams got that story or how that even leaked. The whole meeting, that's normal in the NBA. Teams go through that. I've been on multiple teams where we'll at some point have a meeting and a check-in if things aren't going right. It was positive conversation. It was healthy conversations. We're a team that cares, a team that naturally cares about what's going on with their team. They're going to have sit downs. They're going to discuss how can we get back on track.
It was just a positive meeting. Really, we sat there, just talked about the game, things that we feel like we can improve on. I'm just probably sitting here wondering how it got out.
Now, even though it is bad and they are 2-11, there's still plenty of NBA season left, and there are a couple of bright spots on the team. Now, I personally think that Nick Nurse is still a very good coach in the NBA, and I think when all the players come back from this little injury bug that's been going on, they can find a way to turn this thing around. But in addition to that, the 16th overall draft pick, Jared McCain, has been playing extremely well, and at this rate, he's definitely going to be the rookie of the year. This TikTok dancing ass motherfucker has played great the last couple of games. Just tonight against the Brooklyn Nets, he dropped 30 points, 5 rebounds, and had 3 assists. And so far this season, he's been averaging 16.5 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, and 2.7 assists per game, which is honestly really, really good. So it is pretty bad, but when you're at rock bottom, the only way you can go is up, right? Well, I hope so for Philadelphia 76ers fans. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the Sixers will be able to bounce back in time to make the playoffs? Or do you think that this experiment has already failed? Paul George is going to end up bouncing to another team, and this is going to continue to sink just like the Titanic. Let me know what you think. Now, next we got to talk about Draymond Green wilding out again. Now, last week in a game against the Memphis Grizzlies, Draymond Green thought that he was tripped, and he ended up falling to the ground with the ball in his hand, and Zach Edey just happened to be near him, so he attempts to trip Zach Edey for no reason. Now, if you speed this play down and look at it when Draymond has the ball, he clearly just lost his own balance and slipped and fell, but for some reason he thought he was foul, and of course to retaliate, he can't just let it go. He has to grab on Zach Edey's shoe and damn near trip him for no reason. Now, everyone remembers last year where Draymond Green was suspended for around 15 games, I believe it was, without pay for choking out that Eiffel Tower looking motherfucker Rudy Gobert. And the funny thing about that situation is that the NBA required Draymond Green to take anger management classes during this time. But it seems like the anger management classes that the NBA gave him, they must have ordered them shits off Timor or something like that, because this guy has not learned a single lesson at all since that time. And no racial, but I think Draymond Green has a bone to pick with these international bigs that aren't from the US. Because if you look at his track record of the people that he's kicked in the balls or hit or done something to, a large portion of these guys are international players. Yusuf Nurkic, who's Bosnian, Zach Edey, who's Canadian, Aquaman, our favorite New Zealander, and of course Rudy Gobert, who's from France. Now, Draymond Green addressed the situation with Zach Edey on his most recent podcast episode with Baron Davis, and of course, in typical Draymond Green fashion, instead instead of taking accountability and just giving a simple, oh, my bad, of course he had to double down on it. He goes on to call out Zach Edey and to call out the Grizzlies head coach. Listen to what Draymond had to say right here.
You got Taylor Jenkins, who's a softie. Bro, this game 11, you run into the media crying about a foul that, come on, bro. So guess what you just taught your 7'3" rookie? How to be emotional and run to the media talking about a foul. We bigs. We big men. You don't run to the media talking about a foul. You a big man. He's supposed to protect Ja Morant. You set him up to where Ja Morant gonna be protecting him. He's big enough to possibly have fooled people that he could be a little tough. And now nobody believe you. Now Joel Embiid gonna try to put his chest into the stanchion just to see I think he might be a little soft. Ooh.
Yeah, they gonna try him now. Everybody gonna try.
Y'all gotta stop breeding these soft dudes, man. Stop making these guys turn out to be snitches and soft and going to tell because you are a big man.
Now, of course, because of Draymond Green's past transgressions, there's been a bunch of people who sounded off on this. Kendrick Perkins went in on Draymond Green. This is what he said.
I actually think Draymond should be suspended for an extended period of time. We're talking about a play where we're talking about a play where he pulled on the opponent Achilles while the opponent was going in the opposite direction. And we're talking about a guy, Zach Edey, who's 7'2", 7'3", probably 300 pounds. This could have been a season-ending injury right here.
Stephen A. Smith also sounded off in the Draymond Green situation as well.
Well, I'm satisfied with the upgrade to a flagrant 1. But I think it's important to recognize that you have a lot of people in the league who believe that Draymond should be suspended. I'm not one of those people. But I do believe that certainly when you look at Coach and you hear what he had to say, he definitely felt that way.
And to further bring home the point about how flagrant Draymond Green has been with some of this stuff, there's literally a 27-fight compilation of all the fighting and taunting moments that Draymond Green has had throughout his career, which is wild to me. My opinion might be unpopular on this, but I think that Draymond Green is actually needed in this game. He does all the dirty work for the Golden State Warriors. He's essentially the maintenance man, and to be quite honest, the current NBA is just a little bit too clean, a little bit too sleek. It needs to have some edge to it, and Draymond Green brings that edge. He brings a different element to the game, and it gives something for everybody to talk about, a storyline for everybody to come back and refer to. This is what the NBA is missing these days. It's missing storylines, and Draymond Green calling out that team, calling out the coach, calling out Zach Edey, it creates another storyline for the NBA the next time these two teams meet. And if Ja Morant is back, if he's playing, there's going to be extra motivation between these two teams to really want to deck each other out and really play their hardest because there's bad blood between them. This is kind of what the NBA needs. I think in a weird way, Draymond Green is actually helping the NBA doing some of this shit. But you guys can sign off below. Do you think Draymond Green is completely unhinged and needs a mental check? Or do you think that this is actually in a weird way good for the game? Do you agree with me? Let me know what you think down below. Now, in our next story, Gilbert Arenas addressed some of the declining NBA viewership and ratings this season. And this is what he had to say about why he thinks NBA viewership is down overall this season.
To watch games now. It used to be free.
You spending a lot.
You know how much League Pass costs?
League Pass, and you don't even get all the games.
You don't even get the games in your own city.
You don't get the Laker games.
Yeah, you don't even get your own teams in your city's games on League Pass.
The reason that is
Get you some cable.
No, that now makes you buy cable too. So you got to buy cable for your own teams, and then you got to buy League Pass to get the League Pass stuff.
Now, I'm not usually inclined to agree with Gilbert Arenas, but I actually think he's pretty spot on with this take. It is extremely hard to watch the NBA games that you want to watch on TV these days. You gotta buy this subscription, that subscription. The teams in your local area you might not be able to watch unless you have a specific subscription. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. And I know the NBA literally makes billions and billions of dollars with these NBA TV contracts, but it is very hard for the consumer to just go and watch a team they want to watch. I shouldn't have to do extra research just to be able to find out if a certain game is on TV for myself. That's crazy, you know what I mean? It just creates that extra buffer that makes it harder for the consumer on the end to get what they want. And quite frankly, that's why those illegal streaming sites are so popular these days. I guarantee that if you took the numbers from those illegal streaming sites that everybody's using and you added that to the NBA numbers, the NBA viewership has not gone down overall at all. In fact, it's probably gone up. And then when you couple that with the social media views across all platforms, the game of basketball, the product and the popularity has increased tenfold. And you can even just see this by the amount of international players who have been added to our game now. Look at all the international superstars that we have in the NBA. That never would have happened if you didn't have an increase in people from around the world seeing the NBA product and wanting to play it for themselves and come to America to be NBA superstars. But on the other hand, if it is popular but people aren't paying and they're watching illegal streams, you got a problem on your hand. And quite frankly, the NBA has gone through kind of an identity crisis in the last couple of years. I mean, since Steph Curry and the Splash Brothers came on the scene, now every team wants to chuck up 30 to 43 pointers per game. There isn't as much focus on a mid-range game. There isn't as much focus on paint play and physicality as much as there used to be. Even if you look at the average points per game scored on average in an NBA game throughout the season, in the year 2000, 2001, it was around 95 points per game on average throughout the NBA season that was being scored. And now if you look at the 2022, 2023, 2024 season, it's around 115 points per game. So there's definitely more of a focus on an offensive game, more fouls being called, more free throws overall. And in addition to that, there's just a lot more entitlement overall in the NBA. I mean, if you look back at the 2000s, there was no such thing as load management unless you were actually injured. And they didn't even call it load management. You were just injured, straight up, right? The contract sizes are a lot larger than they were back in the day as well, too. Even second tier, six-man players can get paid a hefty salary in today's NBA. Back then, if you were a six-man or you were a bench player or a secondary player, you were not getting paid $10-15 million per year. It just wasn't happening. And then just in general, when you talk about just the ticket prices, like the ticket prices to go to a game weren't nearly as much as they are now. And I think it's a bad deal now because you go to a game, you spend all this money, you don't even necessarily know if the players that you're paying to see are going to actually be playing because of load management, because of injury, because of this, because of that. So I think overall, even though the game itself is more popular in America and worldwide, fans are still getting kind of a raw deal because you can go to a game and the superstar that you're paying to see might not even be there. And then on top of that, again, I go back to the storylines. What is a storyline for the NBA season this year? In the past, in 2016, you had a great storyline when you had LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers going up against the Golden State Warriors. When you had Kevin Durant leave OKC to go to Golden State and everybody thought he was a bad guy, right? When LeBron left Cleveland the first time to go to Miami, that was a storyline in the NBA that everybody wanted to watch, everybody wanted to see. Right now, the NBA just doesn't have any dominant overarching storyline that compels people to want to watch or tune into certain games. I mean, the most compelling storyline recently was Klay Thompson returning to Golden State to face against Steph Curry, and that was a great game, great storyline. We need more stuff like that, but outside of that, we're not really seeing much. Biggest storylines that the media has that they're beating a dead horse with is just Bronny and LeBron James. Like, nobody cares about this stuff. Real basketball fans want to see NBA storylines. Now, we don't just want to hear about Bronny. But sound off in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that the NBA has a real problem on their hand with viewership moving forward? And I personally think that when LeBron James and when Steph Curry retire, that's when the real problem is going to arise in the NBA, because you're going to have your two biggest stars of the last 2 decades be gone. So where does the NBA go from that point? Next up, we have news that the Lakers have commissioned a Pat Riley statue, and this is dope, but I gotta ask the questions, man. Like, how many goddamn statues do the Lakers have right now? I mean, they have Magic Johnson, they have Shaquille O'Neal, they have Kobe, of course. They, like, how many statues do they want? And I got a question. Does LeBron deserve one? I mean, Pat Riley definitely deserves one, but do you think LeBron should get one too? But yeah, I think overall this is super dope. Pat Riley deserves a statue for what he did when he was the head coach for the Lakers all the way back in the 80s. And I think this is long overdue, but it makes me wonder, like, how many statues are the Lakers really going to commission before it's all said and done? I mean, they already got like 5 or 6 already. Are they going to run out of space outside of the arena or something? Like, what's going on with that? We have news that Inside the NBA will air on ESPN next season. Now, this is huge news because we originally didn't know if Inside the NBA would break up or if they'd be coming back, but now it's confirmed that they will be on ESPN next season. And it just seems like ESPN is just shelling out the money to get everybody right now. I mean, they're literally trying to put together what they believe is the Avengers of sportscasting. They got Shams Charania, they got Shannon Sharp on First Take, they drop huge bags on the Pat McAfee show. So ESPN is doing any and everything to sign everybody that they can, but I just hope that they don't ruin Inside the NBA. Please don't try to force Stephen A in there. Don't try to force Molly. Don't try to force Big Perk or Shannon Sharp. Just keep it the way it is and re-shine Shaq, because it seems like he's frustrated as well too. He hasn't had a new contract with Inside the NBA yet, but hopefully that'll get done eventually. And next we have James Harden, who just became second all-time in NBA three-pointers. And James Harden was interviewed about this, and this is what he had to say.
You're 34 three-pointers away from being number 2 all time in three-pointers made. It's Steph Curry and you.
Listen, I'm going to consider myself number 1. Steph don't count.
Now, this is pretty funny because we all know no one's going to pass Steph Curry. Steph Curry is still going strong, and he's still balling, hitting threes like crazy. But it's cool to see Steph Curry come up to James Harden, dap him up, and show him love before the beginning of their game last week. I mean, it is a big thing to be second all-time on the NBA three-pointer list. And listen, man, James Harden may be regressing on the latter half of his career, but he was a bad motherfucker early in his career, especially in his Houston days, man. He was that dude. Let's not forget that. He was definitely that dude. So big shout out to James Harden. Obviously, this is a big feat, but he's never going to catch Curry, let's be honest. And for our final topic on the docket, we gotta talk about LaMelo Ball getting fined $100,000 for saying no homo in the post-game interview. Now, I think LaMelo Ball is part of a new wave of YNs who joined the NBA. I would also say Anthony Edwards is one of them, John Morant for sure. I mean, recently Anthony Edwards was fined $35K for flipping off a fan. You already know what John Morant is on, but it's just funny to see LaMelo Ball does not really give a shit in his post-game interviews. And I can give you a couple examples of this. Him wanting to shout out to his dad on his birthday.
What inspired that
Before
performance?
we start, shout out my dad's birthday. Pop's birthday, got the dub for him. You start it off now.
Okay, happy birthday to Pops. All right, Bobby, and you're wearing 26. What did this one mean to you?
I mean, I don't really know. I just be going out there playing basketball for real. So it just felt good to be out there again for real.
And we saw the handshake with Kemba. How much has he helped you prepare for this season?
Yeah, that's my brother right there. That's my dog. Like I said, he gang, I'm gang. We chilling all the time. I fuck with his family.
All right, LaMelo.
I ain't gonna lie, this is absolutely hilarious, and I think LaMelo Ball should continue with this. But next time, man, you know the NBA, man, they're also a multinational corporation. You can't be saying no homo in your post-game interview, man. Just say pause and be done with your day. You know what I mean? So LaMelo Ball can afford it. It's $100,000 to him, which is probably like $10 or $1 to the rest of us. I mean, this guy has like a $250 million contract, so it is what it is. But next time, just say pause, my guy. Just say pause. Anyways, that's everything for us today. If you watch all the way through, I really appreciate it. This is Keep It Basketball, and we'll be back next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you watched the whole video all the way through. And if you didn't watch it all the way through, also like and subscribe. I'm out.